Namaskar, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to Midday Prime. In the next 1 hour, we bring you all the stories and big developments from India and the world. Our big focus is going to be the new agriculture acts, all that and more. First, the big news at this hour. BJP slams Congress over protests around the new agriculture acts. Union Minister Javadekar accuses Congress of misleading the farmers. Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan says recent incident of violence in Delhi exposes the true face of the Congress. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Danish counterpart met Fredriksen to hold a virtual bilateral summit today. An MOU in the field of intellectual property cooperation between India and Denmark will be signed on the occasion. Denmark will join International Solar Alliance. Nation pays homage to the revolutionary Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his 113th birth anniversary. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Union Ministers Amit Shah, Prakash Javadekar pay tributes. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan launches ICMR's vaccine web portal and National Clinical Registry for COVID-19. ICMR history timeline depicting 108-year journey of the council. Meanwhile, number of recoveries in the country for COVID crosses the 50 lakh mark with 82.58% recovery rate. Case fatality rate declines to 1.57%. Over 3 crore 33 lakh people infected by coronavirus world over. Death toll crosses the 10 lakh mark. US continues to be the worst affected country with 73 lakh cases. And in sports, Venus Williams and Andy Murray exit French Open tennis tournament in the first round. In men's singles, Alexander Zverev and Stan Wawrinka enter the round 2. Let's now begin with the big story of the day. President Ramnath Kovind yesterday gave assent to 3 farm bills recently passed by the Parliament. The bills are Farmers' Produce, Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020, Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020, and the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill 2020. The acts aimed at transforming agriculture in the country and raising farmers' income. Those are important bills that have now become acts, and we'll now understand these acts in detail. So 3 important bills related to agriculture gets President Ramnath Kovind's assent, and these bills have now become acts. So 3 crucial bills have now become act. We'll try and understand broadly what do they stand for, how the old system has become new, game-changing agri-acts. We'll first talk about Farmers' Produce, Trade and Commerce Act 2020. In the old system, restrictions in selling the agri-produce outside of notified APMCs, but now farmers have been empowered. They've got the freedom to sell, purchase farm produce outside of registered mandis under the state APMCs. So in that manner, there is more freedom to farmers to buy and sell their produce. Next, in the old system, farmers were restricted to sell to registered licensees of the state government. So there were limited options that the farmers had vis-a-vis who they can sell their produce to. Now that restriction has been removed, barrier-free in the new act, barrier-free interstate, intrastate trade for farmers' produce. In that manner, farmers are going to be empowered in the manner in which they can sell their produce. We're talking about Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Act 2020, one of the three important agri acts that have come up. In the old system, restrictions for farmers in selling agri-produce outside of notified APMC. New bill provides a lot of freedom. It reduces the marketing, transportation costs. It helps farmers to get better prices. So who they sell their produce to, at what prices, that decision the farmers will be empowered to make now. Moving on, we're talking about Farmers Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. If we talk about the old system, there was reduced cost of marketing, boost farmers' income. In the new act, direct marketing by eliminating intermediaries and full price realization. So the idea of middlemen, those intermediaries, are going to be removed in the new act. In the old system, agriculture was risky with respect to input and output management. All these facets farmers had to control by themselves. Now, coming in agreement with partnerships from the private sector, marginal small farmers with land less than 5 hectares are going to gain more. So smaller farmers, through the means of these acts, are standing a chance to gain more and benefit more. Moving on, in the old system, fragmentation due to small holding sizes, weather dependence, production uncertainties and market unpredictability were the shortcomings that the farmers had to face. However, with the new acts that have come into place in the new system, contract with agribusiness firms, processors, wholesalers and retailers for future sale is going to empower farmers in the ways in which they're going to manage their produce. Again, going back to the old system, there was no better prices, no option of variable prices that was available to them. Lack of investment, lack of cold storage, processing and export related miscellaneous factors farmers had to consider. In the new act, it removes commodities like cereals, etc. from the list of essential commodities, thereby empowering farmers to sell them at the cost which is most profit-making for them. In the old system, there was no better prices, lack of investment in cold storage, processing and export, as we talked about. In the new act, no imposition of stock holding and limits on except under extraordinary circumstances of war and other issues in that manner. A lot of restrictions have been removed from the way in which the farmers operate. In the old system, imposition of curbs on stock of farm, produce regulation of prices of commodities, etc. That impacted the investment into their produce. In the new act, it attracts private sector FDI into the farm sector. So there's going to be more partnership between the FDI, between different private sectors and the farmers. And the resultant would be a win-win situation for both the private sectors, private partners and the farmers. We are now going to the Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020. In the old system, imposition of curbs on stock holding of farm produce, regulation of prices of commodities, and that impacted investment. We talked about that. In the new, it removes fears of private investment, of interference. There's going to be a proper contract between the private sector and the farmers who want to get into a contract. The farmers would have that freedom. They can go to the mandis or they can tie up with private sectors to secure their future and the future of their produce. Those were broadly some of the ways in which the reforms have been brought by the new Agriculture Act. Meanwhile, Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has accused the Congress of misleading farmers and said the opposition is politicizing the farm reform move. He said Congress is trying to create a wrong perception among the farmers about government schemes. It will not succeed in these attempts, he said.
आज कांग्रेस ने देश को शर्मसार किया। आज तक जनता ने आंदोलन देखे, लेकिन ट्रक में से ट्रैक्टर लाकर वो इंडिया गेट के पास जलाना, ये कांग्रेस का नाटक है। इसकी हम भर्त्सना करते हैं। कांग्रेस आज बेनकाब हो गई। जिस तरह से किसान आंदोलन के नाम पर अपनी राजनीतिक रोटियां सेकने का काम कांग्रेस कर रही है, वो निंदनीय है।
And my colleague Ajay Vikram Singh, who's tracking all the big developments related to this story, is joining us now. Ajay, tell us about the developments taking place. On the one side, bills that are aimed at empowering the farmers. We looked at how that happens. On the other hand, the opposition politicizing the issue. अभी एक हिंसा की भी घटना हुई दिल्ली में. बताएं किस तरीके से ये मुद्दा आगे बढ़ रहा है.
देखिए शुभेंदु, किसान आंदोलन को लेकर जब ये अध्यादेश के बाद जब पार्लियामेंट में लाने की बात हुई, कानून बनने की बात हो रही थी, तभी से कांग्रेस ने इसको किसानों के बीच में एक खास वर्ग में ये बात भ्रम फैलाने की कोशिश की कि ये किसानों के हित में नहीं है। हालांकि पार्लियामेंट के भीतर भी मंत्री की तरफ से, कृषि मंत्री की तरफ से और बहस के दौरान भी ये पूरी तरह से क्लियर किया गया कि किस तरह से किसानों के हक में है। अभी आपने अपनी रिपोर्ट में भी ये बात बताई, लेकिन कांग्रेस इस मौके को एक राजनीतिक लाभ लेने के लिए पूरी कोई कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ रही है। आज की सुबह की घटना है, सुबह 7 बजे एक ट्रक में ट्रैक्टर को भरकर लाया गया इंडिया गेट के पास मानसिंह रोड पर और वहाँ पर उसको जलाया गया। हालांकि एजेंसियां मौके पर पहुंच गई, पुलिस मौके पर पहुंच गई और उसको पूरी तरह जलने से बचा लिया गया। लेकिन उस समय 20 से 25 लोग थे, 5 लोगों को गिरफ्तार किया गया है। मेरी जानकारी के मुताबिक उस पूरे इवेंट को पंजाब यूथ कांग्रेस के ने अपनी ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट से और अपने जो फेसबुक पेज है उस पर लाइव किया था। इसमें सीधा तौर पर कांग्रेस का हाथ पता लग रहा है। अभी पुलिस इसकी जाँच कर रही है। 5 लोगों को गिरफ्तार किया गया है। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि पंजाब के किसान हो, चाहे हरियाणा के किसान हो या फिर देश भर के किसान हो, उनके बीच में जिस तरह से भ्रम की स्थिति बनाने की कोशिश की गई और उसको बरकरार रखने की लगातार कांग्रेस कोशिश कर रही है, वो काफ़ी दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। जो सरकार है दूरदर्शन के भी माध्यम से और अन्य जो मीडिया के माध्यम है उनके ज़रिए बताया जा रहा है। बहुत संक्षेप में शुभेंदु मैं कहूँगा कि 3 ऐसे भ्रम हैं जिन भ्रम को फैलाया जा रहा है। पहला भ्रम ये है कि मंडियाँ खत्म हो जाएंगी, दूसरा भ्रम ये है कि एमएसपी खत्म हो जाएगी और तीसरा भ्रम ये है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग के बाद किसानों की ज़मीन बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियों के पास चली जाएगी, जो कि पूरी तरह से निराधार है। इसको कई मौक़ों पर बताया गया। बहुत संक्षेप में बस मैं उसको बताना चाहूँगा। आपने अपनी पूरी रिपोर्ट में बहुत तफसील से बताया है, लेकिन सरल शब्दों में मैं इतना उसको इस तरह से बताना चाहूँगा कि अगर एमएसपी की बात की जाए, अगर सरकार के इंटेंशन को देखा जाए तो जो रबी की एमएसपी है उसको घोषित कर दिया गया, अभी घोषित किया गया है। जो खरीद धान की होनी है उसको कल ही उसके लिए जो फंड है वो राज्यों को भेज दिया गया है। तो इसलिए जो इंटेंशन की बात कांग्रेस कहती है वो पूरी तरह से निराधार साबित हुआ है। मंडियों की जहां तक बात है, मंडियां पूरी तरह से सुरक्षित हैं, सरकार की तरफ से भी कहा गया है। साफ तौर पर एक सामान्य सोच का भी आदमी ये बात समझ सकता है कि अगर कंपटीशन होता है तो उसका सीधा फायदा किसानों को होगा। मंडियां भी उस कंपटीशन में किसानों को ज़्यादा पैसा देने की कोशिश करेंगी, क्योंकि उनको भी अपना अस्तित्व बनाए रखना होगा। तीसरी बात, ज़मीन सरकार की तरफ से और एक्ट में भी साफ तौर पर लिखा हुआ है कि जो करार होगा कंपनी और किसानों के बीच में वो केवल फसल का होगा, वो ज़मीन का नहीं होगा। तो ज़मीन की कोई बात नहीं आती है। दूसरी बात इसमें और भी इम्पॉर्टेंट बात है जो कि काफ़ी मिस हो जाती है, वो मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग का जो बिल है उसमें साफ तौर पर लिखा है कि अगर करार का उल्लंघन कंपनी की तरफ से किया जाएगा तो उसको 150 गुना मुआवजा देना होगा। और जो अगर कोई विवाद होता है तो उसको सरल रूप से उसको जल्दी से जल्दी हल करने के लिए मजिस्ट्रेट को पावर दी गई है, 1 महीने के भीतर उसको हल करना होगा। तो जो इस तरह की बातें पूरी तरह से निराधार है, लेकिन निश्चित तौर पर कांग्रेस ये समझ रही है कि इस बात को अगर किसानों के बीच में ले जाया जाएगा तो उसको फायदा होगा। आज पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री भी धरने पर बैठे हुए हैं। कांग्रेस इसको बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रही है, किसानों को अपने हिसाब से बताने की कोशिश कर रही है, लेकिन जनता काफ़ी समझदार है। अगर वो पूरी स्थितियों को समझेगी तो वो पूरी तरह से समझ जाएगी कि वास्तविकता क्या है।
जी अजय, आपने बताया किस तरीके के भ्रम फैलाए जा रहे हैं किसानों के बीच, लेकिन जो किसान उतरे हैं सड़क पे उनको ये बात समझाने के लिए कि ये जो एग्रीकल्चर एक्ट्स हैं ये उनकी भलाई के लिए हैं, जो भ्रम है उनका कोई फाउंडेशन, कोई बेसिस नहीं है, क्या कोई बातचीत का जरिया सरकार खोलने की बात कर रही है क्या?
जी बिल्कुल, सरकार की तरफ से हर प्लेटफॉर्म के जरिए बताने की कोशिश की गई है, बताई गई है कि वास्तविकता क्या है। क्योंकि इसको अगर हम पंजाब की बात करें तो वहाँ कांग्रेस की सरकार है, उसको जाहिर तौर पर एक तरह से समर्थन होगा, इसलिए वो ज़्यादा देखने को मिल रहा है। हरियाणा में भी कांग्रेस के जो भूपेंद्र सिंह हुड्डा और तमाम नेता हैं उनको कुछ वर्ग में उनको अपना समर्थन है, वो साफ तौर पर दिख रहा है। लेकिन अगर पूरे आप व्यापक रूप से पूरे देश में देखेंगे तो इसका जो विरोध का जो स्वर है वो उतना तेज़ नहीं है। ये बात धीरे धीरे जब अब ये एक्ट बन गया है, जब धीरे धीरे इम्प्लीमेंट होगा तभी इसका हल निकल पाएगा, क्योंकि तभी इसका वास्तविक जो चेहरा है वो सामने आ पाएगा। क्योंकि ये कोशिश लगातार तब तक बनी रहेगी जब तक इसका ज़मीनी असर नहीं होगा। कांग्रेस इसको पूरे लंबे समय तक खींचने की कोशिश करेगी। पिछले भी कई एक्ट्स ऐसे आए हैं, कैसे कानून बने हैं जिसमें कोशिश की गई और बाद में जनता ने इसको समझा है। तो इसको हम जनता के विवेक पर ही समझ सकते हैं कि अगर ये विवेक पर जाएगा और विवेक से अगर समझा जाएगा और सही लोग जो समाज के जिम्मेदार लोग हैं अगर वो बताएंगे तो निश्चित तौर पर जो भ्रम है वो पूरी तरह से दूर होगा। और राजनीतिक दल है कांग्रेस, वो अपनी राजनीति जरूर करेगी, लेकिन अगर वास्तविकता लोगों के पास जाएगी तो लोग वास्तविक स्थिति समझ पाएंगे।
चलिए, धन्यवाद अजय विक्रम आपका इन सभी अपडेट्स के साथ हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। And let's now move on to our developing story in Midday Prime. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold bilateral summit with his Danish counterpart Mette Frederiksen later today. An MOU in the field of intellectual property cooperation between India and Denmark is being signed on the occasion. Another major outcome will be joining of International Solar Alliance by Denmark. Denmark had expressed interest in joining this alliance at the earliest during the third India-Danish Joint Commission meeting held in May. Then External Affairs Minister Javadekar had co-chaired the meeting virtually with Danish Foreign Minister Jaap Kofod. Both sides had also agreed to work towards establishing a green strategic partnership which would focus on areas such as climate change, energy, circular economy, water, sustainable food, agriculture. There is a 400-year of historical linkage between India and Denmark, and both countries have also celebrated 70 years of diplomatic relations. Several major Danish companies have built new manufacturing factories under Make in India scheme, which are being used as export hubs. Bilateral trade between India and Denmark has also seen impressive growth of about 30% from US $2.82 billion in 2016 to US $3.68 billion till last year, 2019. Around 5,000 Indian professionals are working in major Danish companies, and 20 Indian IT companies have been present in Denmark for decades now, contributing India's expertise in IT and finance to Danish economy, also enhancing their products, services and competitiveness in the global economy. Important virtual summit coming up between India and Denmark. My colleague Abhishek Jha is joining us with more inputs on the story. Abhishek, tell us about this upcoming summit. International Solar Alliance cooperation on crucial issues, global issues of climate change, going to be hallmark of the partnership between India and Denmark. So in that perspective, a very crucial summit coming up.
So, Shubhendu, we should know that Denmark is one of the most energy efficient countries in European Union, and India can learn a few things from there in terms of renewable energy, sustainable development, waste management, clean energy, recycling. So these are the areas of expertise where Denmark has some edge over India, and while the negotiation or the diplomatic outreach with Denmark is on, these are the areas of expertise where India and Denmark can collaborate. Denmark is also involved in so many of infrastructural projects in India. The Denmark's logistical company is carrying almost 20% of India's exports across the world. So one can gauge the kind of relationship both in terms of trade, commerce, and political and diplomatic way India and Denmark enjoys. Also, recently we had seen that in one of the biggest city of Denmark, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's anniversary, a portrait of Mahatma Gandhi was displayed at the mayor's house, and it is being displayed across the country. So the way India is also known in Denmark, these two things can push forward the ties that the leadership also wants to make it more important and deepen it. And this is what especially in today's meeting, we are going to see that Denmark, which has expressed its eagerness to join International Solar Alliance, one of the major global initiatives in renewable energy, founded and propounded by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So now when Denmark also becomes part of this alliance, Denmark's expertise can actually be spread across the globe through this alliance. And this will be one of the major breakthrough in this area also.
Right, a little more, Abhishek, on the Make in India aspect of the partnership between India and Denmark. What are the likely tangible outcomes, takeaways that India can expect from the summit?
So, as you know, Shubhendu, government has said that the Make in India means that whatever you want to distribute or market or sell in India, at least that should be made in India. And following those clauses, following those guidelines, many Danish companies are investing in India, and they have started producing equipments like solar pump, agricultural infrastructure projects, cold chain related equipments, and so many other innovative equipments and accessories are also being made here. Denmark has also a very innovating way of doing its agri and dairy business. We know that our agrarian society can learn so many innovation and scientific way of managing its agriculture and dairy business if we learn few things from Denmark. So these are the area where Denmark companies and Danish companies and their expertise are already collaborating with Indian farmers and dairy business people. And one of the key takeaways from today's meeting could be that this collaboration could be further strengthened.
Right. Also, Abhishek, if we look at the format in which the summit is taking place, perhaps outside of pandemic, if this was any other time, leaders would visit one another's country. Earlier, we know Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a virtual summit meet with Sri Lankan Prime Minister. Now, the Danish leadership is going to meet the Prime Minister. So the format of international diplomacy is also transforming with the pandemic.
Actually, Shubhendu, it has expedited the diplomacy and the global connectivity and reaching out of leadership from each other, because they don't have to travel to each other's country. So much of time is saved, so much of resources are saved, and they can be easily accessible to each other also. Initially, there was this hesitation that meeting people to people would always, it would warm up the relationship. There would be a personal touch in talk and dialogue. But now, when one has realized the current global pandemic and its reflection is all through pervasive through our society, so everything is going to be tied with this kind of concept, where everything is going to be touchless and through digital medium. Our Prime Minister is taking a lot of initiatives in diplomacy ever since he called the meeting of SAARC leaders to deal the pandemic situation. And since then, so many bilateral summit level talk he has also conducted and hosted. Even today's meeting is also being hosted by New Delhi. So I think that this whole pandemic has given some lessons also to the world of diplomacy, where they can now go back and shift their focus on the digital diplomacy, and through which they can try to deal with the situation and go ahead with deepening their ties and their friendship and their alliance with other countries around the globe.
Right. Abhishek, we know that people-to-people ties are crucial aspects each time leaders of two countries talk. In the highlights, we spoke about how hundreds of Indian professionals work in Denmark and many Danish companies operating in India as well. In the times of pandemic, when one has to work outside of one's country, there are expectations that one has from their respective governments. So on that front, what are the things one could look forward to, both people, Danish professionals working in India and Indian professionals finding employment in Denmark?
See, Shubhendu, this is still early when people are realizing the use of digital technology, and after initial hiccups and hesitation, they are trying it and getting its result in all sectors. Initially, it was thought that only IT business and independent services can go back to digital service, and they can work from home and they can have this touchless, without touch business operating model. But now, as we talk, that more and more Danish companies are also involved in scientific and infrastructure projects in India. So their expertise, they will have to now deal with the, sitting as far across and then telling their Indian counterparts how to go about and how to manage those services in India also. Also, we have seen that strong, almost 30,000 IT business people are involved with Danish companies, and one can say that while we can learn things from Denmark in terms of sustainable way of life, Denmark has a strong support of Indian information technology professionals, and these two are the areas where both the countries are actually collaborating in a very scaled up manner.
Right, Abhishek there. Thanks very much for joining us with those inputs. So India-Denmark bilateral summit will take place later today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will meet his Danish counterpart later in the day. We'll keep you updated upon those developments when they take place. We're heading for a short break. Lots more coming up in Midday Prime. Stay with us.
हैप्पी बर्थडे बेटा। चैम्प क्या हुआ? आपको तो सबमरीन ही चाहिए थी ना?
पर ये मेड इन इंडिया नहीं है।
तो आपको मेड इन इंडिया चाहिए ना? कम।
पापा, हम कहाँ जा रहे हैं?
तुम्हारे गिफ्ट के पास। मेरा तुम्हारा बर्थडे गिफ्ट।
ओह माय गॉड, पापा ये तो कलवरी है ना?
हाँ, इंडिया की पहली स्कॉर्पियन क्लास सबमरीन। और बेटा सबमरीन सिर्फ यहाँ मैस्कॉन डॉक पे बनती है, यानी कि
मेड इन इंडिया।
Presenting Mazgon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, one of India's leading shipyard with a capacity to meet requirements of the Indian Navy, the only Indian shipyard to have built destroyers and conventional submarines.
Welcome back. You're watching Midday Prime. Time for our National Prime segment. The longest-serving warship of the world, INS Virat, has moved towards her last journey today for recycling at Alang in Bhavnagar, Gujarat. After its official decommissioning, Union Minister of State for Shipping, Mansukh Mandavia, paid tributes to INS Virat. Speaking on the occasion, the minister said INS Virat has served our nation for 30 glorious years, will always remain the pride of India.
इयर्स तक हमारी नेवी में सेवा देने के बाद आईएनएस विराट आज अपने अंतिम सफर पर आया। लेकिन एक आईएनएस विराट दोस्तों शायद 11 लाख किलोमीटर का उन्होंने जर्नी किया है। 30 साल में देश के कई ऐसे युद्ध अभ्यास में ये आईएनएस विराट शामिल हुआ। आईएनएस विराट देश की आन मान और शान थी।
So the glorious journey of INS Virat comes to an end. Nishit is joining us on the phone line with more updates. Nishit, at a time when we talk about maritime security across India, across the world, for 3 decades, INS Virat has served the nation. Tell us something about the legacy of this grand ship.
Absolutely, Shubhendra. Today is a very emotional day for all of us. In fact, the Central Shipping Minister, while addressing the gathering, he also got emotional during his address because today is the last day of INS Virat, and Mr. Mansukh Mandavia bid adieu to the INS Virat, and he was telling that in the future, or this is a very emotional moment, and INS Virat contributed a lot as far as the national security is concerned. Let me tell you that on 12th May 1987, this INS Virat was commissioned, and after that it served for 30 years. In 2017, it was decommissioned. And various demands were rising, like to make a museum about that. But today, while talking to Doordarshan News, Shipping Minister Mansukh Mandavia told that there was a proposal, but the Paris level of INS Virat is very weak. So, to avoid any untoward situation, this proposal was not permitted, and that's why it was decided to recycle it. But in the future also, definitely the Ministry of Shipping will take initiatives to make a museum of another vessels who will be decommissioned in future.
Right. Beyond the legacy of INS Virat, what is the road ahead now? Like you mentioned, it's going to be recycled. What is that process like when we're talking about a grand warship like INS Virat?
Shubhendu, it will take around 10 months to complete this all kind of process. After that, we can say that the Shriram Group has received this INS ship in 34 crores 53 lakhs. So after 10 months, the things will be more clear. Shubhendu.
All right, then, Ishay, thanks very much for telling us about the legacy of the grand warship INS Virat. Let's talk about COVID updates from India. India's total recoveries have crossed the landmark milestone of 50 lakhs. The rise from 1 lakh in June 2020 has been steep. The last 10 lakh recoveries were added in just 11 days. Recovered cases have outpaced the active COVID cases by more than 5 times. The commendable feat has been achieved through enhanced medical infrastructure in the country, implementation of standard treatment protocol, full dedication, commitment of doctors, paramedics, frontline workers, all together. We now take a look at the revised data on COVID-19 from across the nation as well. India's recovery rate has further improved to 82.58%. Last 24 hours, 74,893 patients have recovered from COVID. They've been discharged for home. Health Ministry has said the total number of recoveries has reached, it's crossed the 50 lakh mark. It stands at 50 lakh 16,520. The constantly increasing recoveries have ensured that the actual caseload, COVID caseload on the country has reduced and currently comprises only 15.85% of the total positive cases. The number of active COVID cases at present stands at 9,62,640. And according to the Indian Council of Medical Research, a total of 7 crore 19,67,230 samples for detecting COVID-19 infections have been tested so far. As many tests have taken place. Of these, 7,09,394 COVID-19 samples were tested in just one day. Meanwhile, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan today inaugurated a vaccine portal for COVID-19 to create awareness among masses. Portal will disseminate vaccine-related information regarding Indian efforts towards vaccine development against COVID-19. Currently, 3 vaccines are undergoing clinical trials in India for COVID-19. Initially, ICMR vaccine portal will only reflect the information on COVID-19 vaccine in India. However, with time, the web portal will be strengthened with data available for all vaccines used to prevent various diseases. Union Health Minister also launched the ICMR history timeline depicting 108-year journey of the Council that displays key milestones and captures policy and program interventions by ICMR.
I strongly believe that if we can take care of 2 issues in the country, right nutrition for the people and right lifestyle habits about physical activity and all, we can actually take care of the major part of the health. And of course, then aided by many other factors like good quality water, good quality sanitation, good quality air, environment. A strategy has to be planned whereby we can actually ensure that whatever good work has been done and whatever the outcomes of that research are, they are in some manner or the other, by making a good quality public health movement, we are able to ensure that they are delivered to the common people of India.
And today is a special day as the nation pays homage to revolutionary freedom fighter Bhagat Singh on his 113th birth anniversary. It was on this day, 1907, Shaheed Bhagat Singh was born in Banga village of Lalapur district of undivided Punjab province. The young freedom fighter dedicated his entire life to the nation. On his birth anniversary, let us remember the brave soul, his inspiring, enriching story and legacy.
ये घाव सरकारी भर्ती से कहीं अच्छे।
Shaheed Bhagat Singh is the legend who paved the way for India's freedom with his aggressive nationalism. It was Bhagat Singh who instilled a new hope in the hearts of freedom fighters. Born in undivided Punjab's Lyalpur district on the 28th of September 1907, Bhagat Singh was inspired by his father Kishan Singh and uncle Ajit Singh. The 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre had a deep impact on his mind and he decided to fight against the British rule. He started the Naujawan Bharat Sabha as a movement for freedom and to prepare young men who wanted to serve the nation. Bhagat Singh, along with Rajguru and Sukhdev, made a plan to kill Lahore's police chief to revenge Lala Lajpat Rai's death. But they could only take hold of Sanders. They threw bombs and pamphlets in the Central Assembly in Delhi in 1929 and courted arrest. British rulers sued Bhagat Singh on charges of revolting against them and sentenced him to death. Bhagat Singh was hanged along with Rajguru and Sukhdev, but his going for kill instinct still motivates young generation of the country. Bureau Report, DD News.
And Vice President Venkaiah Naidu paid tributes to Shaheed Bhagat Singh. In a tweet message, Vice President said, remembering the brave son of Mother India and revolutionary freedom fighter Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary today, his courage, sacrifice, love for motherland continues to inspire every Indian. Vice President also shared a famous quote of Shaheed Bhagat Singh. It says, "They may kill me, but they cannot kill my ideas. They can crush my body, but they will not be able to crush my spirit." Bhagat Singh. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tributes to Shaheed Bhagat Singh. He tweeted and said, "The saga of valor will continue to inspire people of India for ages." Prime Minister also paid homage to freedom fighter Shaheed Bhagat Singh through his Man Ki Baat address earlier.
भगत सिंह पराक्रमी होने के साथ साथ विद्वान भी थे, चिंतक थे। अपने जीवन की चिंता किए बगैर भगत सिंह और उनके क्रांतिवीर साथियों ने ऐसे साहसिक कार्यों को अंजाम दिया जिनका देश की आजादी में बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा। शहीद वीर भगत सिंह के जीवन का एक और खूबसूरत पहलू यह है कि वे टीम वर्क के महत्व को बखूबी समझते थे।
And Union Home Minister Amit Shah remembered Shaheed Bhagat Singh. He tweeted and said, "I express my gratitude to Shaheed Bhagat Singh, who gave new direction to the freedom struggle through his revolutionary ideas, supreme sacrifice and awakened resolve for freedom among youths of the country. The nation fondly remembers him." Information Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar paid homage to Amar Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary. He tweeted and said, "Shaheed-e-Azam Bhagat Singh was a great revolutionary." And tributes pour in. Sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik also paid tributes to Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary through his sand art. Beautiful tribute to Shaheed Bhagat Singh by sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik. Time now for all the updates from the world of finance and business. And my colleague Ajay Mishra has all the details as always.
Thank you, Shubhendu. We'll start with a news that is expected to benefit a lot of people in the country. The Supreme Court heard a batch of petitions seeking interest waiver during the loan moratorium period. A bench led by Justice Ashok Bhushan heard pleas seeking extension of the loan moratorium and waiver of accruing interest on it. The matter will next be heard on October 5th. The Supreme Court order asking banks not to declare accounts as non-performing assets or NPA for 2 months will continue. The Supreme Court gave the centre time to place an affidavit on record by October 1. The Supreme Court on September 10th said it had not yet decided on the issue of interest waiver and is inclined to pass an order against levy of interest on the interests. And the S&P BSE Sensex rose 500 points to 37,900 levels, and the Nifty 50 index reclaimed the 11,200 mark. ONGC was up 4% and it was a top gainer in the Sensex, followed by Bajaj Finance, which was up 3%. NTPC, Axis Bank and Larsen and Toubro was all up by 2%. Meanwhile, Lakshmi Vilas Bank slipped 5% after a large section of bank's shareholders voted against the reappointment of some of the officials. The broader indices, meanwhile, outperformed the benchmark indices with the S&P BSE mid-cap and small-cap indexes trading 1.8 and 2% higher respectively. The diesel prices continued its downward movement on Monday on the back of subdued product prices and almost steady crude oil prices globally. In the national capital, diesel was priced at 70 rupees and 71 paisa per litre, which is 9 paisa down from yesterday's close. Oil marketing companies, however, have kept the petrol prices constant for the last 6 consecutive days. The recent fuel price fall on the back of expectation of slowing demand for oil globally as a second wave of coronavirus spike threatens further derailment of economic activities. Brent crude oil is also subdued around $42 a barrel. For domestic auto fuel consumers, the price fall has been a bonanza amid the current tough economic condition. With the price cut on the Monday, diesel has now become cheaper by 2 rupees and 85 paisa in Delhi this month. Well, that's all in the business prime for today. Shubhendu.
Thank you for joining us with those inputs. Moving on, let's now find out what's making news across the globe. Let's look at the updates on the COVID-19 front from across the world. The death toll across the world has surpassed the 10 lakh mark. As per the latest update, over 10 lakh people have died worldwide due to COVID-19, while over 3.33 crore COVID-19 cases have been reported from across the globe. As many as 2.46 crore people have also recovered back to health from the virus so far. If we talk about countries, United States continues to top the list, being the worst hit country by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of COVID-19 cases. Over 73.2 lakh cases reported in the US, while 2.09 lakh people have lost their lives due to COVID-19 in America. In terms of the death toll, Brazil stands second on the tally with over 1.41 lakh casualties. There are more than 47.32 lakh cases of COVID-19 in Brazil itself. And Brazilian city of Manaus has closed bars and river beaches to contain a fresh surge of coronavirus cases. Local authorities on Friday enforced a 30-day ban on parties and other gatherings and restricted restaurants and shopping hours. The city never really imposed a full lockdown earlier. Non-essential businesses were closed, but many simply ignored social distancing guidelines. Authorities warned residents they were ignoring the virus and risk a second wave of contagion by not wearing masks, packing into bars and attending parties. In Spain, Liceo Theatre in Barcelona launched its new opera season over the weekend with COVID safety protocols to control the spread of the virus. People wearing face masks entered the famous Catalan theatre while social distancing and disinfecting their hands. A thermal camera was also installed as part of the new safety protocols. Inside the theatre, some seats were kept empty to ensure members of the audience were safely distanced. Spaniards endured one of Europe's strictest lockdown from March until May, when they were not allowed to leave their homes. But after restrictions were totally lifted on June 21st, the pandemic has surged again. At present, over 7.35 lakh people infected from COVID-19, while 31,000 have died across the country. Meanwhile, in Mexico, distance learning imposed by the pandemic has represented a challenge for authorities and educational institutions, but also for students. Many do not have computer at home or have to share it with other family members. Now, to resolve this, a group of Mexican students opened a Facebook page, Laptops con Causa, aimed for people to donate their laptops. So far, they have been able to deliver 70 computers and have 300 potential donors to continue distributing laptops. A recent apparent rise in the number of children infected with coronavirus in Iran has been worrying parents as the country prepares to impose new COVID restrictions amid a surge in cases. Due to the rising number of cases, children are also getting infected. However, doctors say most children were making full recovery. Despite concerns over the increased spread of novel coronavirus, schools in Iran reopened after a gap of some 7 months. However, some parents have chosen not to send their children to school due to concerns that they may infect other family members. Meanwhile, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has authorized the country's provinces to impose lockdowns wherever necessary to stem a rapid rise in coronavirus cases. Over 25,000 people died due to COVID-19, while nearly 4.5 lakh people were infected across the country so far. And Argentina's coronavirus infections crossed the 7 lakh mark despite 7 months of lockdown. Argentina, which already was in the grips of devastating economic crisis, was among the first countries in Latin America to implement strict quarantine. But a gradual loosening over time and the spread of cases from the capital to provinces has seen cases skyrocket. Over 15,000 people have lost their lives so far, while the number of infected persons reached over 7.11 lakhs. Qatar Airways has received about $2 billion in the state aid to weather COVID-19 pandemic. The lifeline was to provide Qatar Airways after annual losses exceeding 50% of their share capital was later converted into new shares. Long-haul carrier Qatar Airways on Sunday reported revenue losses of around $2 billion for the past year, blaming the coronavirus pandemic, its liquidation of shares in Air Italy, and the ongoing boycott of Doha by 4 Arab countries for the drop. Moving on, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the grant of some $15 million to promote Buddhist ties between the two countries. In a tweet message, Sri Lankan Prime Minister said, and I quote, "I thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the grant of $15 million to promote Buddhist ties between both our nations. Steps to further strengthen these ties. A new flight destination will commence from Kushinagar, the sacred Buddhist city, to Lanka." Talking about American politics, Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden spoke against US President Donald Trump's decision to push through a confirmation of Supreme Court nominee before November 3rd elections. Terming Trump's decision unprecedented, Biden accused the latter of trying to fill the court with enough justices who would overturn Affordable Care Act. Biden's comments came just after Trump nominated Judge Amy Coney Barrett to fill the seat of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. At least 16 military and several civilians have been killed and more than 100 injured after Azerbaijan launched an air and artillery attack on Armenia. Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh declared martial law and mobilized the main population. Clashes between the two former Soviet republics, which fought a war in the 90s, were the latest flare-up for a long-running conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh, which is a breakaway region that is inside of Azerbaijan, but it is run by ethnic Armenians. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev said that on Sunday, the clashes in the Nagorno-Karabakh region were another manifestation of Armenian fascism. Aliyev also accused Armenia of military provocations, saying that they had become quite regular earlier this year in July. And time now for all the action from the world of sports. My colleague Narayan is joining us now. Narayan, over to you.
Thanks, Javadekar. Let's get started with the French Open. On day one of the French Open, all eyes were on the high-profile match between Andy Murray and Stanislas Wawrinka. However, the match was one-sided and the 16th seed Wawrinka defeated Andy Murray 6-1, 6-3, 6-2 in little more than 1.5 hours. Murray had not played a clay court match for more than 3 years before this one. Alexander Zverev, who has not played on clay court for over a year, has recovered from a slow start to beat Austrian Denis Novak 7-5, 6-2, 6-4 in the first round match. Teenager Jannik Sinner retained his status as a giant killer, making his French Open debut. Sinner defeated 11th seed David Goffin by 7-5, 6-0, 6-3 in the first round. In women's singles, top seeder Simona Halep celebrated her 29th birthday by defeating Spain's Sara Tormo 6-4, 6-0 to reach the second round of the French Open. The 16-year-old Coco Gauff made her main draw debut at Roland Garros, a successful one by eliminating number 9 seed Johanna Konta 6-3, 6-3. Venus Williams suffered her second successive first-round loss in a Grand Slam event as she went down 6-4, 6-4 to Slovakia's Anna Karolina. Moving to football, East Bengal became the latest club to join the Indian Super League. The Kolkata-based team will be a part of the 7th edition of India's top-flight football league after Mohan Bagan's merger with Atletico de Kolkata that saw other top Kolkata club move to the ISL. East Bengal's entry was always on the cards. East Bengal will become the 11th team in the ISL and will take part in the 2020-21 campaign that is scheduled to be played in Goa. East Bengal is one of the most decorated clubs in Indian football. They won their first league title in 1942 and have since gone on to win the title a record 39 times. Jamie Vardy scored a hat-trick as Leicester City inflicted a remarkable 5-2 defeat on Manchester City to go top of the Premier League table, despite going behind to a superb 4th-minute strike by former Foxes midfielder Riyad Mahrez. The visitors responded in a stunning fashion. Vardy levelled with a penalty before the break after he had been fouled by Kyle Walker, and he then sealed his second treble against Pep Guardiola's side from the spot. James Maddison scored for the first time since January 1 when he curled home a stunning 4th for Leicester. Only 3 hat-tricks have ever been scored against team managed by Pep Guardiola, and Jamie Vardy now has 2 of them. A great achievement here by Jamie Vardy. Liverpool. This time they will play the 3rd match of this season. The first 2 meetings between Liverpool and Arsenal in the space of 4 days takes place in the Premier League tonight when Gunners makes a trip to the Anfield. Both sides have won 2 from 2 in the league so far this term, meaning that at least one of their perfect record must go in the final match of the game week 3. Liverpool are without captain Jordan Henderson for this match after he failed to fully recover from the injury which forced him off at the half-time against Chelsea. Besides this, Liverpool announced a double blow on injury front with Alisson and Thiago both facing late fitness tests and uncertain to make the team after niggles picked up in the training session. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich suffered their first defeat since December 2019 as they were beaten by Hoffenheim 4-1. Bayern had won their past 23 matches and were unbeaten in 32, a run that saw them win last season's treble and UEFA Super Cup last week. Emrin Bakacic scored the opening goal for the match in the 16th minute. Soon, Munas Dabur made it 2-0 for the host. Bayern's Joshua Kimmich reduced the deficit with a gorgeous 20-yard effort with 36 minutes gone, but Andrej Kramaric scored twice, including an injury time penalty to seal famous win for Hoffenheim. The hosts are managed by Sebastian Hoeneß, who was Bayern's youth coach last season. That's all from the sporting arena. For more updates, back to you, Shubhendu.
Narayan for getting us those updates. Time now to find out what's in store in Life Prime today. Milan Fashion Week, which has hosted a mix of physical and virtual catwalks for its first edition since coronavirus restrictions, made the heady mix of glamour, celebrity and hype at the events much more complicated. And back home, eminent sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik sculpted a sand art on Puri beach, wishing Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar on her 91st birthday. Numbers and of Nightingale of India, Lata Mangeshkar. Enjoy her legacy. We'll take your leave for now. Namaskar.
ये गलियां ये चौबारा यहाँ आना ना